We are continuing on with our study of the Gemara Eruvin. Today's daf is daf Mem Chet. We're starting on Mem Zayin with Beis, the last line. Tani Rabbi Chia Chayev Sheben Tchumei Shabbat Sarich Mechitza Shabal Zalhavziko. Rabbi Chia Tana Braita said if you have a water-filled ditch between two different tchumen, you would need to have a iron partition to divide between two areas. So both, otherwise, you would have a problem of the water going between this tchum and that tchum, and neither group could drink from it. So Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina laughed at this because he thought there was no reason that you would have to do that. It basically says that we're not worried about the tchum of the water, so you don't need to put any wall in the water. So why was he laughing? If you want to say that he had heard of Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Chia's opinion is according to Rabbi Yomi that the water is konashita, the usir like Rabban Lakula, and then maybe say he says like Rabban Lakula that all those objects don't require pledge of residence, which would mean there's no problem. Everybody can have to take the water, no problem. Wait, but if this simply because he simply had a more makel shita, is that really a reason to laugh at somebody else? So why is he laughing at him? It's not a reason. It's because he's machmir your makel. You don't laugh for that. No, he laughed because he thought that Bechir showed on the Breita that all flowing water and spring and streaming springs are all considered to be like the feet of whoever picks them up, meaning that the water has no tchum, rather the tchum was by whoever picks it up, so therefore there'd be nothing to worry about. So maybe we're not talking about a flowing water, we're talking about water that was simply gathered. Then the story would be different. So Ella Mishumitani Sarich Mechitza Shabbat Laziko. Rather he laughed because he said you need to use a wall made of iron to separate. Ma'ishna below Maya Shabbatanami I live Maya. Whether or not you make a gate of iron or made of reeds, that doesn't matter because it will not fully divide the water in half. Since either way water can get through, it doesn't really matter. You can't there's no way to ever fully, you're not supposed to truly fully seal it, so then what's the difference? Or maybe he said that you need to, but simply you can't possibly fix it. But rather, right, so what's the problem? Is that, right, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina said, is laughing at why being so machmir, because this case is about water. And in general, some were makel's water, so they wouldn't have told you that you have to make this intense, wall to bridge the water. Rather, it should be fine. Look at Rabbi Tabla. Let's say that in Rabbi Tabla, are you allowed to use a hanging wall in a chorba? Right? Generally, we say that if there's a gap beneath a wall that is more than a star tvachim, we say that it's a mechizash gedim bokamba, it's a place where animals can go right on through. Therefore, we say that that's not considered to be a good wall. So now the question is we're saying so are you allowed to have this hanging wall? It's not all the way to the ground. Is that permitted? Is that permitted to allow a destroyed city to be, or a destroyed wall to destroy a city in order to be considered usable again? So, what was the response? Can you use this for the destroyed city? So, as and that's what Rav responded there, that meaning having a wall that doesn't reach the ground, is only permissible in regards to water, but that's a specific leniency that the Chaim built in for water. But otherwise, that would not be okay. So so now another statement from the Mishnah. So right? So if he left the tchum, he only gets Dalad Amot. If he's sleeping at the onset of if the person had been sleeping at the onset of Shabbos, he only gets his Dalad Amot, nothing more, and because he has to be awake in order to get the 20,000. Rabbi Yehuda and Tanakama. Wait, and that sounds like Rabbi Yehuda. It's actually the same thing as Tanakama then, because right. So that means that right. That means the Chachamim says you only get Daled Amot, and Rabbi Yehuda says you only get Daled Amot. So it's the same thing. Why are they arguing? Amarava Shmona al Shmona Kibanat. The difference is the kids is 8 by 8. Right? So Rabbi Yehuda maintains he only gets 8 in one direction, whereas the Chachamim say he gets 4 in every single direction. So therefore, that is different. Is whether you can carry the whole 8 by 8 area or only on half of it. So you know, Nihasmi still learned in another Breita. Yesh lo Shmona al Shmona Devi Meir. So Rameir says when you say we say Daled Amot, it's really 8. Amarava Machloket Lahalech Aval Hotel Dibrakol Arba Amot in Tvela. So then Rava says no, that the being Rameir is good. That's only talking about in regards to are you allowed to walk the Daled. When we say you only get Daled Amot walking to a say you want to be an 8 square, right? You want 4 to your right, 4 north, 4 south, 4 east, 4 west, which then which in total ends up being when you square it off, that ends up being 8 by 8. But for carrying, they'll agree you can only carry up to Daled Amot. You can't do more than 4 and move it more than 4 Amot in any given direction. Right? So you couldn't move it until there, you move it until 4 in one direction. Hani Armo Hechati. That's the word that we learned that you're allowed to have Daled Amot Midaraita. So could it tell you in right? Shvu ish taftav. Right? So it says in the right it says the pasuk says each person shall rest where they are, like the area where he rests. And how much is below a person? Gufo shlosha amot. A person's body is roughly 3 amot. Rameir says it's 3 for your body, 3 amot, and then there's Rama is that way you can stretch out your arms and legs. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Gufo shlosha amot. Lama kadeshi told chafetz mitachat l'markotav meniat tachat markotav. Yehuda says no. A person is 3 amot long, and the reason why you get the extra amot is so you can take an item that was located by your feet and place it by your head. My benayu, what's the difference between the two? Iki benayu arba mizum samot. So the difference between the two is whether you get exactly 4 amot or not. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you get exactly 4 and that's it. Whereas Rameir says, no, it's basically as much as your hands will stretch out to be. It's not strictly 4 amot. It could be in theory a little bit more if you're a little bit taller. Amar lei Rabbi Shar Shel of Rei. So Rabbi said to his son, Arba amot shamru ba'amad idei yavinan lei o ba'amad shel kodesh yavinan lei. Rabbi Shar Shel told his son who's going to go learn by Rabbi Papa, he said, make sure you ask. When we say you're Daled Amot, do we mean you're Daled Amot relative to the person, or do we say when we say Daled Amot, do we mean Daled Amot of the Mikdash, meaning are they standardized Amot or Amot relative to the person? So Imam Marla Amot Shel Kodesh Yavinan Lei. And if you were to say, if he then tells you should do the Amot that are listed in the that they would use in the Beit Mikdash, your response should be somebody as tall as Og, the giant, what would he do? My time alone, Kitani, Lagabe, Yesh Chamru, Hakol Fimashu Adam. So if you were to say that it's according to each individual's measurements, right? You're his own personal I mean, this is from his elbow to the tip of his finger, right? That's an amma. So if he says that, then you should ask him, what? Then is this the case for all measurements that is done relative to the person, right? So there's a mission that says all the ones that are taught according to the person's measurements, but Eruvin is not included. It's in it. So why is this Mishnah? Why is this halacha not included in the Mishnah that states all the times when things are when the measurements are relative to the individual? So then Rishari's son came for Papa, and then Papa responded. All right, so then were we to be precise, we would not be able to learn anything at all. Basically, like this is a very nitpicky question. Everybody always asks these questions, we never get anything done. So rather, really, it's according to your own amot. And the question of why, with the question of my time alone, wondering why it's not on the list of Yeshamru of things that are done relative to the person's measurement as found in the Mishnah. So this is, we say, rather, the reason why we say this is because this isn't necessarily always the case, because sometimes there are people whose limbs are very small, who we would not say Dal Amod according to his own forearm, rather we'd say according to that of the Mikdash. Therefore, since there are cases which are exceptional, that's why we don't say it's always according to Amadideh. It's not the case of where there were two people in the Mishnah, there's two people eating and they're Dalat Amot running to each other. So what do we say? So why are they comparing this? Why does the Rishon need to give an analogy? Because they wrote, okay, you simply said that this is on the way it is. Like, why did you compare it? So how the Kamar Rishon or Rabban? But this is what Rishon meant. If the Lamad over Dama, when it says those words, it says L'shosh Chaserot, Shul Zolzo, Tuchos Rabim, Maj Hadan to Pligitu, Maj Hadan to Pligitu. So, right, so the answer is, this is what Rishon wants to say, is that why is it that here there's Machloket about the person in the middle, whereas there's no argument about the case of the Chaserot. So why is, so, right, so what is it that you why do you disagree with me in the case of the three Chaserot, but not on these two people? So Banan Hatam, Ashid Yurin, Hakal Ashid Yurin. No, because this is about Chaserot, there are a lot of residents in the Chaser, and therefore they might make a mistake. But here, there's only two people, or three people, so odds are they'll be able to be more careful and stringent, and they won't run into any issues. Right, so that's their answer. Right, so then if the case is three people, two outer ones can carry, the middle ones cannot. But the middle one cannot. The middle one can carry the two of them, but the outer ones can't carry each other. Why can't the two outer ones carry to each other? If both two people on the outside made an Eruv with the middle person, that means that they're all together, that their Eruv all combines. Rather, what happened is that the middle person placed one in each. He placed one courtyard in that of the right. So basically, each of them placed an Eruv in each side. So basically, neither Eruv is located in the middle section. Therefore, there's no way for the people from the two outer ones to get to the inner one. Or if it's even if the two, again, I'm talking about this three Chaser case. So we'd say the problem is that they left in the two outer courtyards, not the inner courtyard, or that they both put in the inner courtyard in two different houses, so therefore there's no way for the Eruvs to combine as one. Come on, it was just like Beit Shammai. This is like Beit Shammai, Titania, Chamisha, Shagabu, Eruvin, Atanu, Mishnei Kelim, Beit Shammai, Omrim, Ein Eruvin, Eruv, Beit Hillel, Omrim, Eruvin, Eruv. So the case, the bread dough, the five people collected their the bread to make an Eruv, and then they put in two separate utensils. Beit Shammai says it's not a good Eruv, Beit Hillel says that it's a valid Eruv. So Afiyotim or Beit Hillel, Adkan, Okamer, Beit Hillel, Hatam, Ela, Mishnei Kelim, B'Bayt Echad, Bal Mishnei Batim Lav. If you want to say Beit Hillel says that if you put in two separate kelim, it's okay, but he only says it's okay if you put in two separate utensils. If those two utensils are in the same house, but if they're in two separate houses, that'd be a problem. So Amrlai, Rav Acha, Bre, Derav, Avia, Ravashi. Rav Acha, son of Rav Avia, said Ravashi, Rav Yehuda, Kasha, Rav Sheshet, Kasha. The problem according to Rav Yehuda and according to Rav Sheshet. Rav Yehuda, Kasha, Damar, Tigon, Shananam, Sa'id, Eruvah, Bazo, Eruvah, Bazo. Going to Eruvah, Sa'id, Bahade, Achitzona, Avia, Lechada. Laki, Hadra, Arva, Bahade, Ida, Shlichatabda. Right, so what's the problem with Rav Yehuda? Is that when the middle one put the Eruv, for this one and that one, since once the middle person made an Eruv, so that would mean that the middle section become the middle matter become one, and then when they in turn makes another one, then he's doing the shliach of another person. Therefore, you say it should work. So why do you say that you can't use them all as one as a courtyard? The problem is that if the two outer courtyards place their heirs in the middle courtyard, then we run into the issue of it being there's five people in an living in a single chatzer, around a single courtyard. And if one of them forgot to make an Eruv, that ruins it for everybody else. Similarly, since if somebody forgot and since they didn't properly do the Eruv of all of them together, therefore they should be ushered here as well. No, none of them is really a problem. Why? Rav Sheshet lo kasha kim the Eruv alongside v'dechitzona. V'shtayim chitzonot v'aday adadi lo irvu g'ayadate de v'ha nechalei v'ha lo nechalei. So the reason why it's not a problem is because once once the middle one it's the Eruvs in both the outer ones, and the outer ones did not make an Eruv with each other, they're clearly showing they didn't want to be involved with each other, and that's why they can't carry from one to the other one. So that's tells Rav Yehuda's problem. Rav Sheshet lo kasha, Rav Sheshet is not a problem. Imamru diurin lahakel, yomru diurin lahak, where if they say that there's many residents were being makel, why else somebody mouthfear on it? Rather, it should make it here as well. Rav Yehuda, Amarav, Zudi Rabbi Shimon. Right, so Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav, these are the words of Rabbi Shimon. The Chachamim say one area can become two. But two cannot serve as one, meaning that you can carry objects from the outer courtyard to the inner courtyard. There's no problem about that, since both of them have an Eruv with the middle one. But you can't carry from the middle into either the outer courtyards, because if you were to then move one of the items from the outer courtyard to the inner courtyard, the person residing in the middle courtyard would have been in violation. So then when I brought the statement in front of Shmuel, and he said to me, this teaching that you mentioned about carrying the objects from the outer courtyards, the middle courtyard being allowed, this is also in accordance to opinion of Rabbi Shimon. The Chachamim argue and say that all three courtyards are prohibited, carrying one to the other one, because you didn't properly make your Eruvs, and therefore you would be stopped. That is the end of today's stuff. We'll continue tomorrow on Mem Tet Amud Aleph.